I'm finally back! Sorry it took so long. If you're new to my channel, be sure to stick around for the question of the day so you can be featured in my next video. And be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon. With that being said, enjoy! Welcome my Knights of Hen to a new little series I would like to start on the channel, which I feel like I should have started a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. But basically, I'm going to go through every trilogy in the Star Wars franchise and rank them from 1 to 3, with 1 being the best and 3 the worst. I will be doing this canonically, so we will begin with the beloved prequels. And by beloved I mean, it depends who you ask. Before I begin my own little personal assessments on them individually, let us talk about them as a whole. So I straight up love the prequels. Mostly. They were a big deal for my childhood, and well, kicked off my love for Star Wars. You know, as a kid, I didn't really pay attention to little details, because, you know, I was a kid. The story, for the most part, emphasis on most, was quite entertaining for me, or, well, engaging. Witnessing the rise of the big bad in pop culture Darth Vader was a pretty big deal for me. Back then, it was just so cool seeing Star Wars on the big screen. But I digress. Let us start with my least favorite of the 3. Now just note, just because something is my least favorite does not necessarily mean I dislike it. Bear in mind that these are just all my opinion, so if you don't agree with what I say in the following, then much more power to you. I actually encourage for you to comment on your own thoughts down below. Let's get started. Number 3, The Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace for me was the most boring of the 3, but not entirely. In my opinion, you do have some cool stuff like pod racing, lightsabers, Darth Maul, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, but the reason I've put this film as number 3 in this list is because it's just far too political for me. Like, I get we need to establish the rise of the Empire, I guess, but there's just some real boring bits in Phantom Menace in my opinion. I didn't even bother watching it before making this video. Not gonna lie though, majority of you have probably seen this movie way more than I have, so feel free to comment below your own assessment. Perhaps you could even change my mind and I end up giving Phantom Menace another try. But yeah, for me in my opinion, while the Phantom Menace does have some action, the boring political stuff outweighs it. While the film did give me some Star Wars vibes, the other 2 prequels, you know, for me gave me much more. Number 2, Attack of the Clones. Ah yes, Attack of the Clones. While I dare say in my opinion that Phantom Menace is the most boring, this one I'd say is the cheesiest in my humble opinion. Mainly because of the inspired teenage love drama that George Lucas implemented into it. In fact, I believe he wanted to reach out to the teenage demographic of the time where teenagers were into that kind of genre. Apparently. I don't have sources, but I swear on my Darth Revan Force effects that this is somewhat true. Now, I don't know in today's society, but I do recall a couple of years back that this film was considered the worst Star Wars movie, you know, before the sequels happened. But funny enough, I actually quite enjoyed Attack of the Clones in comparison to The Phantom Menace. For me anyway, there was just more interesting stuff and places within Attack of the Clones compared to The Phantom Menace. I really do give a round of applause for the environments they've given us, such as Kamino, Geonosis, heck, I even enjoyed Coruscant and Naboo more than I did in the previous film. Like Phantom Menace, there are some political stuff in it, but it isn't as heavy in comparison. Like, I'm okay with space politics being used as a tool to get the story going, but when it's used too much, I'm like, But yes, Attack of the Clones isn't as heavy into it, and I'm glad. I found this one to be the most fun of the 3, and look, yes, some moments are cheesy and borderline cringy, and dialogue can be a bit of a mess, and I can totally understand why a lot of people are not a fan of it.
Now that I'm with you again, I'm in agony.
But I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Attack of the Clones is a major guilt pleasure for me. Perhaps it's because I remember seeing this movie distinctively when I was a kid in the theaters, and it was just a magical time. Oh, childhoods, how powerful they can be to influence your adulthood. Number 1, Revenge of the Sith. This one should not surprise y'all at all. Revenge of the Sith for me by far is the best of the 3. For me, Revenge of the Sith is on another level in comparison to the other 2, which it should be. We see the fall of Anakin Skywalker and the rise of Darth Vader. So, it's safe to assume that shit's gonna go down. When it comes to the politics, it's there, but I feel even in this one it flows quite well. There's even more action drama in this one than the previous film. The cheesy love stuff from Attack of the Clones has been toned down. There's less Jar Jar, and all around I find this film to be a great way to end a trilogy to migrate to the next. Anakin, you can see in this one, is much more mature and his relationship with Obi-Wan has improved, which really stood out for me because for me it makes the ending even more tragic.
You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
Compared to the other two prequels, people tend to accept this one more than they do Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones. It's a lot darker and more mature, and all around is a great yet tragic story of a good man who loses everything by turning to the dark side. The film ticks most boxes for me, hence why I've put it as number 1 out of the prequel trilogy. While yes, I did say Attack of the Clones was the most fun, Revenge of the Sith for me is the most engaging. And depending on my mood, 9 times out of 10, I always prefer something engaging rather than fun. Again, depends on my mood. There's even more action, drama, and emotion in this one, by far, but not gonna lie, the comedy, well, it can be a little out of place. Just a little bit.
R2 has been...
no loose wire jokes.
Did I say anything?
He's trying.
I didn't say anything.
But overall, I really do love Revenge of the Sith. I dare say it's one of my most favorite films of all time, not just in Star Wars, but movies in general. It's one of those films I'm most likely to put on whenever I'm bored or want some ambience whenever I'm gaming, especially Star Wars games. Now, yes, I know there are faults. In fact, there are faults in every film, but for me, movies are a form of escapism, and I don't tend to overanalyze films too much, because for me, it can sometimes ruin the experience. I guess you could say I'm the type who just shuts off his brain and leaves it at the front door of the cinema before watching a film. It's only really later on when I've watched a film a couple of times when I start to analyze it. I mean, after all, I do come from film school. Don't get me wrong though, there are notably bad movies out there that genuinely make me go, yikes. But overall, the prequels at the very least are a good popcorn flick, with a few exceptions, and Revenge of the Sith is the best one out of them in my opinion, as mentioned earlier. And that is my personal ranking for the Star Wars prequels. Now, before I get into the question of the video, which will relate to this, last video, I asked you guys which Star Wars characters you would compare Connor, Hudson, and I to. And wow, this is what some of you said. Now for the question of the video. How would you rank the prequels? You've seen how I rank them. Now I want to know how you guys would. As always, leave your answers in the comments below to be featured in the next video. And as always, my Knights of Hand, may the Force be with you.